This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Anjana Dodamgoda and read by Tilani Pires. The headlines. The President says ready to allocate 3 days for vote of no confidence against Kehelia. Sri Lanka to establish task force for agricultural modernization. The Minister of Transport, Highways and Mass Media says selling of expressways a diabolical lie. The Finance State Minister says over 200 million rupee revenue from locals entering casinos from April. Indian loans worth more than $1 billion to Sri Lanka to undergo restructuring. The passenger security screening at the BIA to be limited to one location. And on international news, Pakistan's parliament dissolved to pave the way for national elections. And on sports news, the DS Senanayake College warm-up for rugby knockouts with 7 wins. President Ranil Wickremesinghe told Parliament yesterday that the government was ready to allocate Thursday, Friday and Saturday to debate the no-confidence motion against Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwella. The President said this while replying to a statement made by Opposition Leader Sajith Premadasa in Parliament. The Opposition Leader said that Minister Kehelia Rambukwella's motion of no confidence needs to be debated for at least 3 days and that he is not ready to do it on a one-to-one basis. He further said that the government wants to take the debate soon and finish it in a hurry. In response, the President made the relevant statement pointing out that the opposition has declined to take up the debate on the no-confidence motion on Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwella this week. President Ranil Wickremesinghe questioned as to how he can give an election when the opposition is not ready to take up even the no-confidence motion. He told Parliament the government offered to take the no-confidence motion moved by the opposition on Minister Rambukwella this week, but the opposition had declined. The Transport, Highways and Mass Media Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena yesterday assured that no expressway would be sold and there is no risk of expressway workers losing their jobs. Responding to a question raised by Member of Parliament Ajith Manamperuma in Parliament saying that the employees working on the highways are afraid of losing their jobs, the Minister said, "We have received information that the expressway workers are getting ready for an action, but we will never sell any highway. No highway has been handed over to any private company. No employees have been fired. A new management system has been implemented to prevent wastage in order to develop and expand highways. 100% will be transferred to a company owned by the Treasury through a Gazette announcement. In order to show these roads as assets of the government, highways have been taken to the balance sheet of the government from a Gazette." The Minister also said that no employees' jobs will be lost. Answering oral questions directed by Member of Parliament Kings Nelson, the Minister stated 500 buses have been distributed under the Indian loan scheme. Conductors and drivers are being recruited. For a new project for electric buses, there is a program to import buses. The Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, Nimal Siripala de Silva, has instructed to limit the security checks of passengers at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake to only one location in order to minimize delays and inconveniencing of passengers. Accordingly, the Minister has instructed to carry out the security screening of passengers thoroughly at one point in a manner that it will not affect the national security of the country in order to reduce the inconvenience caused for air passengers who currently have to undergo security checks at 2 points at the airport. During a review meeting of the issues between Airport and Aviation Services Private Limited, the Sri Lankan Airlines and progress in the aviation industry, the Minister has directed the relevant officials to commence the relevant process from September, the Department of Government Information reported. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The Finance State Minister Dr. Ranjit Siamalapitiya told Parliament yesterday that revenue of more than 200 million rupees has been earned so far from the fees charged from locals who patronized casinos from April this year. He said that a fee of $50 is charged from locals who enter casinos from 1st April this year. The State Minister said this while opening the debate on the second reading of the Betting and Gaming Levy Amendment Bill. There is a need to update the existing taxes instead of increasing the tax burden on the citizens. Therefore, our aim is to place the maximum tax burden on sectors that should not be encouraged, such as casinos, and charge 60% to 65% of the turnover received by them to the government. He said the state revenue has increased by 38% of the GDP in the first 6 months of this year compared to last year. More than $1 billion debt owed to India by Sri Lanka will undergo restructuring as part of the International Monetary Fund-led debt restructuring program for the crisis-hit South Asian country, Indian media reported today. The debt is part of the line of credit that the Government of India has extended to Sri Lanka over the years for undertaking various projects primarily related to infrastructure building associated with roads, energy, water, housing projects, among others. India's current exposure to Sri Lanka is about $3 billion. That ends local news for now.
Elevate your life with People's Bank Excelsior. A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said a task force for agricultural modernization inclusive of government and private sector representatives will soon merge agriculture, plantations, irrigation and Mahabali development ministries. The President's media division reported that the President stated this unification, along with resources from 9 provincial councils, aims to efficiently tackle agriculture-related issues. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Live is brought to you by
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
And on Watch Light tonight, the World Health Organization has classified the EG.5 coronavirus strain circulating in the United States and China as a variant of interest, but said it did not seem to pose more of a threat to the public health than other variants. The fast-spreading variant, the most prevalent in the United States, with an estimated more than 17% of cases, has been behind upticks in the virus across the country and also been detected in China, South Korea, Japan and Canada, among other countries. A more comprehensive evaluation of the risk posed by EG.5 was needed, it added. COVID-19 has killed more than 6.9 million people globally, with more than 768 million confirmed cases since the virus emerged. The WHO declared the outbreak a pandemic in March 2020 and ended the global emergency status for COVID-19 in May this year. That came to you in Watchlight.
CIB Janajaya Vasana. Unbelievable discounts and offers throughout August from CIB Janajaya Vasana. Come today itself.
Moving on with world news and the headlines first. Pakistan's parliament dissolved to pave the way for national elections. Muslims flee Indian business hub after religious clashes attacks. Tropical storm triggers floods, evacuations in South Korea after lashing Japan. Pakistan's parliament was dissolved by the President on Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's advice late Wednesday night, the President's office said, setting the stage for a national election amid political and economic crisis. The advice came 3 days ahead of the Parliament's 5-year term, which expires on August 12th. It will be followed with a caretaker administration to be picked by Sharif and opposition leader in the outgoing Parliament to hold new elections in 90 days. The vote, however, could be delayed several months, with the Election Commission set to start redrawing hundreds of constituencies based on a fresh census. Over 3,000 poor Muslims have fled a business hub outside New Delhi this month, fearing for their lives after Hindu-Muslim clashes and sporadic attacks targeting them, residents, police and a community group said. Shops and shacks owned by or run by Muslims and their houses in 2 large slum areas were padlocked when Reuters visited them more than a week after 7 people were killed in clashes in Nu and Gurugram districts in Haryana state adjoining the Indian capital. South Korea authorities evacuated more than 14,000 people and closed schools in flooded areas as tropical storm Kanum swept over the peninsula on Thursday, having pounded southern Japan over the past week. Downgraded from a typhoon to a tropical storm, Kanum made landfall on the southeast coast and was heading towards the South Korean capital Seoul. Kanum could also strike North Korea's capital Pyongyang early on Friday, and state media there reported that the military and the ruling party had been ordered to prepare flood mitigation measures and salvage crops. Back to the world news headlines. Pakistan's parliament dissolved to pave way for national elections. Muslim flee Indian business hub after religious clashes attacks. Tropical storm triggers floods, evacuations in South Korea after lashing Japan. That ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities from Deshakti Lanka in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, including company housemaid, salary 156,000 rupees, 23 to 57 years. Contact 037 7500 500.
And on development news, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said Sri Lanka will seek investments to make Colombo and Trincomalee ports hubs for the export of green hydrogen and green ammonia made with renewable energy. Sri Lanka had plans to make 70% of electricity renewable energy by 2030. The North and East region would be a key source for renewable energy, which would be developed in partnership with India. Green hydrogen is a key future ship fuel that could replace fossil bunkers. Green ammonia is another fuel made from green hydrogen by adding nitrogen separated from the air with renewable energy. That's development news.
Job opportunities for women from Deshakti Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Company housemaids, caretakers and home cooks in Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can now travel overseas free of charge. Branches: Colombo, Kurunegala, Anuradhapura and Mathura. Contact number 037 7500 500. Deshakti Lanka Foreign Development Agency.
The ThreadWorks, a leading innovator in baby products, is thrilled to announce the successful launch of its groundbreaking product line, Bamboo Nappies, in Australia. Designed to provide parents with a sustainable, comfortable and eco-conscious diapering option, the launch marks a significant milestone in the Australian baby care market. Valona Cuddles Bamboo Nappies are crafted from 100% organic bamboo fibers, offering a natural and biodegradable alternative to conventional disposable nappies. With a commitment to environmental responsibility, these nappies are free from harmful chemicals, bleachers and toxins, ensuring the utmost care for both the baby's delicate skin and the planet. That came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekata menna.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Go ekak thiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekata menna.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Moving on with economic news, the central bank yesterday surprised markets by announcing a key measure to release 200 billion rupees in liquidity, thereby further easing interest rates. And it said the monetary board of the CBSL at its meeting held on 8th August 2023 decided to reduce the statutory reserve ratio applicable on all rupee deposit liabilities of licensed commercial banks by 200 basis points from 4% to 2% with effect from the reserve maintenance period commencing 16 August 2023. The CBSL said this reduction in the SRR is expected to release around 200 billion rupees of liquidity to the domestic money market, which would enable a further downward adjustment in the market lending rates as a result of the reduction in cost of funds of SCBs, thereby supporting the expansion in credit flows to the economy. That ends economic news. Finally, the weather report. The meteorology department says showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the eastern and Uva provinces and in the Mullaitivu and Vavuniya districts during the evening or night. A few showers will occur in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Galle, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. The President says ready to allocate 3 days for vote of no confidence against Kehelia. Sri Lanka to establish task force for agricultural modernization. The Minister of Transport, Highways and Mass Media says selling of expressways a diabolical lie. The Finance State Minister says over 200 million rupee revenue from locals entering casinos from April. Indian loans worth more than $1 billion to Sri Lanka to undergo restructuring. The passenger security screening at the BIA to be limited to one location. And on international news, Pakistan's parliament dissolved to pave the way for national elections. And on sports news, the DS Senanayake College warm up for rugby knockouts with 7 wins. That ends this news broadcast.